Hello guys, so welcome once more to the Dart Crash Course. So here we're going to be talking about exceptions in Dart. That's error handling, throwing exceptions, exceptions, and all of that. So what are exceptions? So exceptions represent conditions that deviate from the normal flow of a program, right? Such as trying to divide a number by zero, or try to divide by zero, or accessing a file that doesn't exist. Now, when we talk now of errors represent serious problem that a program itself, right, should typically attempt not to handle, like out of memory errors, right? So those are the type of that's what we mean by an error, right? So we're going to start with our first exception by going to our terminal. So let's try to come here as usual, create a folder. We're going to create a folder and say exception. I'm going to say exceptions, okay, and create our first example. Example one, example1.dart, if I can go about that, and rapidly create um a function int. Okay, I'm going to call it divide, which is just going to take int a and int b, and in this function we're going to just return a, where did I usually get the sign? Okay, b. Now what we're just trying to do here, we're just trying to divide, right? Divide, and we see here that this is going to throw an exception. So if, for example, call this function and b is 0, so let's try to do that here, and let's try to print and say divide, and we are going to pass 5 and b is 0. And if we try to run, let's open this in our terminal. Let's open this in our terminal. Open in terminal, okay, and let's wait for it to load. Okay, clear, and let's say dart example 1. Okay, so now we fall into an exception, right? Unhandled exception, division by 0, integer division by 0 exception. So this is what we call an exception. So an exception has been thrown, right? The next thing, we're going to go to example 2. Now in this example 2, we're going to be introducing what we call the try catch block. Now a try catch block allows you to catch exceptions and handle them gracefully, right, instead of crashing the program. Because if you see here in this example, one that we did, we actually, our program actually crashed, right? It actually crashed. So if we open that again, the terminal, and if we close this, we can see from here that a program actually crashed, and whatever code, if we had, for example, something here, let's say print hello, and let's clear. Okay, let's clear and say again that example 1. Okay, we see that all of these crashes and we don't get to see at the end hello, right? Because the program actually stopped. Now with try catch block, we are able to handle the exceptions, right, and the flow of the program, and the program doesn't crash, right? That's just what we mean by that. The program won't crash as you just did there. So we're just going to recopy what we have here in example 1. Okay, do this here, and here we're just going to be able to do a try catch. Okay, so we're just going to do here try catch. We're going to return that, or we just print we're just going to do this, put this here, say an error occurred, and then we're going to put the error there. Okay, and I think we should just return, let's just return 0 for now, just something like that. So if we try this again in example 2, okay, let's clear our terminal and say example 2. Okay, so we see here that in example 2 we get an error occurred. Okay, integer division by 0 exception, and hello got printed. So you can actually see here that our program didn't crash. Okay, our program didn't crash. So um that's just to say that, like, using try catch helps make sure that we don't crash the program, right? It doesn't, any other thing that was bound to occur or to execute after it continues its execution, right? So that's that. We can see that. So let's go to example 3. Now in example 3, we're going to use the finally block. Now the finally block is used to execute code, right? Regardless of whether an exception was thrown or not. And this is usually useful for cleanup activities. For example, if you are reading a file, you want to close it after you're done reading it, or even if an exception occurred, you still want to be able to close the file or release resources, right? So we still do that. So we're still going to um, copy this code here and go to example 3. Example 3 dot dart. Okay, we're going to say example 3 dot dart, paste it here, and we're just going to add a finally block. Okay, that's how it's done. Now we're going to go here and say what can we even add here? Let's just say execution completed, right? Execution completed. Execution completed. Or let's just say I always run. Yeah, I always run. So that even if we call it an exception, then if we say here, for example, with a 3, and let's go ahead then and say that example 3. Okay, so now in this example 3, we see here that an error occurred and it says I always run. Now this value 2 was being divided and we had it. I think I need to wrap it around a print statement. Okay, so we see here that for the first case, we actually get that. Okay, we actually get 1 and I always run, which is always called, right, whenever the whole function gets executed. So that's what the final block does. So we are now going to try to continue with the next part. So in this next part now, we're going to be talking about throwing exceptions, right? For example, if we try to perform an activity and we want to be able to throw that, right, we should be able to throw an exception. So let's then get to that, okay, by throwing some exception. Okay, so then let's just get to that then. So let's go. Example 4 dot dart. Okay, and in this example 4 dot dart, we're going to go and we're just going to have a simple function. Say void check age. Okay, it's integer. Let's just call it age. And in this check age, it just checks, right, if for example age is, let's say, less than 18, right, we should be able to throw exception, right? This is how we throw our own exception. So age must be, we can say age must be 18 or older. Okay, and in our main we can then decide to call check age and just pass in let's say if we pass in 20, we can just we can print here, we can say age valid. Okay, and then we can call the age here, or we can say age valid. Okay, so if we say here that example 4, then we see here age 20 valid. But if we pass something like 10, okay, then we get an exception thrown, right? And remember, it has crashed the program once again, and we have seen how to gracefully handle exceptions from crashing our programs by using the try catch block. Okay, so in the next part now we're going to see how, and with this we could even build on it, right, to try to make it our own custom exceptions, right? Because as you can see from here, remember we have the exceptions. For example, 2, I think example 1 we had integer something exception. If we can, you can still go back and try that out to be able to see what it actually gives you as that. So now we are going to be able now from here to elevate a little bit and go a little bit complex by being able to have different type of exceptions. So we're going to say example 5 dot dart. So now in this example 5 dot dart, we're going to create, for example, if we had a database, right, a database, and we want to be able to list in on the different type of errors that can happen. So we can say database exception, okay, and we can implement the exception class which already exists in Dart, and we provide a message, so final message, okay, and in this final message we have database exception. We're going to accept Dart, okay, and I think we should remove this dot message. Yep, now we have that message there, and then we overwrite the toString. Can I have the toString? Yep, okay, let me remove this and provide my own toString, which is just going to be database exception, and then I'm just going to call the message. Okay, now in the next part, now we're now going to call we're going to implement another class, okay, called the network exception, okay, like this. Network exception implements exception, and then we're just going to say maybe we had a network request failure, right, and then we're going to say void fetch data. Okay, now this fetch data doesn't do anything, it just throws the database exception with a message that unable to connect to database. Okay, and I think there's that. So with that we can now bring in our void main function, and here we can bring in our try catch, and then we fetch our data. So let's fetch data, okay, and here we are able to list in on multiple type of exceptions, because first of all we have the on database exception, which we catch it and we get the E, okay, and we can print what can we print there? Let's say cut maybe a database exception, something like that. We could as well print the E. We could print the E. Let's print the E here, and as well as this we could as well have a network exception. Okay, so we could say on network exception catch E, and try to print that, so call the network exception, and if our exception doesn't belong to database exception, network exception, then we just print, and yeah, we just print the error as it is. So we just we can have the finally block. That's if you wish to add that to be able to maybe close the database. Yeah, why not add that? So let's say for example finally let's just print something like closing connection. Yeah, or let's just say closing database or DB connection. Now we can go down to our terminal and try to clear, okay, and run that example 5. And in this example 5 we say call the database exception unable to connect, and then we closing the database connection. So we can as well we could as well close this and throw a network exception, right, or just say something like no internet access. Let's just say something like no internet connection, right? And when we do that, then we now get here in this block, which says caught a network exception, no internet connection, right? So there's that, and we always get close in the database connection. That's it. So that's that for um, being able to catch multiple or different types of errors, right? So in this last case now, we're just going to be able to see how we can use the retro keyword, because that's also something that um, many of us don't know about, okay? But it's actually there to be able to throw up, like from the name what it means, right? Retro. So we're going to have a class, let's say parsing exception, okay, implements exception. As usual, we're going to have a final string message, and we're going to call our parsing exception constructor. And I don't think I need this. Did I miss something here? Do I need to say const there? Oh, I didn't even see that I had this here. So it's this dot this. Okay. So now we're just going to now implement the parse data function. So void parse data, and we're just going to be able to take in a string data, okay, and this string data we're just going to try catch. Now if this data is the same as error, right, we're just going to throw a parsing error saying something like fail to parse data, okay. And then but if we don't get that, we can print something like data parsed, let's say parsed successfully, and then we can do this. Now, like we earlier saw, we can do an on exception parsing exception catch, but let's just use the catch here, the catch block print let's retro first, and then here we can say something here like inner block, inner catch, like we can say something like inner catch block, inner catch block. We can say something like inner catch block, and we provide to it the exception now. So we now call on our main, and in this main we still do again a try, because when we are retroing, then we should be able to, when using that retro, we should be able to use it somewhere and catch that, right? So we're going to call our parse data here, and for this first case we're going to return to it error, and I think here now we finally catch, and then we can say something here like cut, let's say outer catch block, okay, and let's do this. Oof, that was a lot of typing. And let's just say something here like one. What did we say? Okay, string. So let's just say something here like hello. Let's close this for now. So we see that we have done that, and we can clear and say that example 6. Now in example 6, I didn't add it to string method, so that's why you say instance of parsing exception. So I'm supposed to return it to string and say parsing exception, and let me just put this and just say message. Yep, I think that should be good to go. So let's clear our terminal. Let's do again example 6, and we see here fail to pass data, the inner catch block, and we had to retro using the retro keyword, and it got caught, and that error got caught in the outer catch block. That's why you see it here. But in a case where we had to pass a valid string which isn't equivalent to error, then we just have our data passed successfully, and that's all. So thank you guys for watching. That was actually great, and hope that with these 6 examples, you are able to elevate your understanding of how exceptions function in that. So just try to do some couple of examples on your own and try to redo it again and again, and I think you're finally going to get it.